Hello, hello, hello! And today we're gonna talk about the Summer League MVP Josh Christopher. Of course, last night he led the Miami Heat to its first Summer League championship, the Heat's first title in 11 years, and of course, he won himself the Summer League Finals MVP. But before we get there, let's talk about Josh Richardson from where he started all of this, really. So, of course, Josh Christopher rather, started off as a freshman in Arizona State, where he only played like 14 games, really. Now, of course, he only played 14 games because of injury, but in those 14 games, Josh Christopher, as a freshman, averaged 14.3 points, 4.7 rebounds, 1.4 assists, 1.5 steals. He did have 1.7 turnovers per game, 3.2 fouls. He shot 43% from the field on 11 attempts, 30% from 3 on 3.9 attempts, and 80% from the free throw line on 3.7 attempts. As a 6'5", 215-pound guard with pure athleticism and scoring, and a knack for scoring though, these are some solid stats for Josh Christopher. Some of his best games in college did include a game against Villanova. Of course, that Villanova team was still coached by Jay Wright, where he had 28 points on 11 of 17 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3, and 3 of 3 from the line. He was on one that day. Unfortunately, they lost. And his second most notable game in his college career, is the game against UCLA where he scored 22 points, grabbed 11 rebounds, so he had his first and only double-double in college. He did shot 9 of 24 though, and missed all his threes. Also ended up in a loss too, so there's that. So the knack of scoring for Josh Christopher was always there even in his college days. So much so that he was drafted at pick 24 by the Houston Rockets. And in Houston, he played 2 seasons in Houston though. 138 games in total. He only averaged like 15 minutes a game because he was mostly coming off the bench in Houston. So he averaged 6.9 points per game, 1.9 rebounds per game, 1.6 assists per game, on 45% from the field, 28% from 3, and 74% from the free throw line. He didn't exactly invite optimism for the AAU Rockets back then. He was playing 18 minutes in his first season and only 12 minutes in his second season. And by the time his third season rolls around though, they drafted his replacement in Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore. Once those two men were drafted by the Houston Rockets, Houston decided to trade him. And unfortunately, his most memorable moment in Houston was the incident he had with his head coach, where he was clapping towards the bench. Once he was heading towards the bench, he was clapping, he was mocking his coach. He was either mocking John Morant or mocking his head coach. Whichever which though, it did not help his case. By the way, shout out to Hangtime Memes for this vid. I'm gonna borrow it for a little bit. Sorry, dude. But yeah, it didn't exactly invite optimism for him to stay in the NBA at this point. So now he got traded to the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies waived him. He got signed to the Utah Jazz, but he on a two-way, but he mostly played in the G League. And then Utah waived him on his two-way contract, and now he ended up in Sioux Falls. Of course, in Sioux Falls, he only played like 13 games in Sioux Falls. But he did average more minutes though in Sioux Falls, like 27 minutes. He had 15 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.4 steals, 2.2 turnovers on 45% from the field, 33% from 3, and 91% from the free throw line. His most memorable game in Sioux Falls was this game. 40 points, 10 rebounds on 63% shooting. Just look it up on YouTube though. You will see it. Again, his G League stats doesn't scream that he can stay in the NBA. So he was still lacking the skills needed to possibly stay in the NBA though. But his opportunity arises in this year's Summer League. Because in this year's Summer League, of course, the 6 games is mostly in Vegas though. But we're going to talk about the Summer League very soon. In Summer League, the Summer League Finals MVP averaged 25 minutes a game, 19 points a game, 3 rebounds a game. But check this shooting stats. 54% from the field, 53% from 3, and 100% from the free throw line. Now, let's take a look at the games he played in Summer League, shall we? So, in the California Classic, they got destroyed by the Golden State Warriors though. Josh Christopher played bad. 4 points on 1 of 8 shooting. So much so that in the Kings game, he was DNP'd. He did not play in this game at all. And after that, guess what? He worked hard. He worked out after the gym. And now, he played in his next game, 22 minutes in LA, against LA, where he scored 4 points in the last few minutes of this game to beat the Lakers 80-76. He had 11 points on 5 of 9 shooting in this game. So he redeemed himself from the last game against the Warriors. And now the Las Vegas Summer League rolls along. And he played against the Celtics, where he scored 20 points on 7 of 9 shooting and 3 of 3 from downtown. And 3 steals, by the way. So the scoring prowess he had back in college, and to some extent in the G League, has translated to Summer League action. And it all goes up from him from here though, because against OKC, he had 23 points, 8 of 11 shooting, including 6 threes. Check this out, 20 of those points came in the 4th quarter. And he had 2 highlight dunks in this game as well. And in this game, Jaime Jaquez Jr. also had 23 points a game. So now he's killing it, right? But in the next game against the Mavericks, well, he had 9 points on 3 of 13 shooting. So the inconsistency is still there. But he was bound to have a down game after those 2 spectacular games though. And guess what? He redeemed himself against the Toronto Raptors. By the way, the entire team just beat the crap out of the Toronto Raptors though. But with Josh Christopher, he had 17 points and 6 of 9 shooting and 3 threes. Got his scoring back. And he also got his scoring back against Golden State. 23 points and 7 of 15 shooting. They relied on him so much in the fourth quarter though. He became Mr. Fourth Quarter for the Summer League Heat team during this stretch. And his scoring was much needed against the Grizzlies though, where he scored 13 in the first half and then 11 in the second half, including the 3 that would eventually give them a chance to win the game towards the end. A 3 over GG Jackson nonetheless. And now you're looking at a Summer League MVP in Josh Christopher. Of course, he makes the Heat's decision a little harder this time around though, because they gotta decide if they want to keep the Summer League MVP. But even if the Miami Heat does not keep him though, teams around the NBA would want a shot to sign this kid to a regular contract. Because honestly, he earned it. And that's it for me though. Who knows where his career is gonna take off, but man, it was fun seeing Josh Christopher in the last Summer League games. That's all I'm gonna say. See ya.